friends. I will not use this for saying this is what we have done, that is what we have done. I think that's what our customers should end up really doing it at some stage. It's too early for us to talk about what we have done actually, right? It's very, very early stage in our life. We are a 1-year-old baby. So we are learning at this point of a time to be what we can become. So that's not necessarily where I want to spend the time. One of the things which I want us all to really think at this moment, being here with us at Kautilya and at the invitation of Leadership Center, is to think about leadership. I just want to tell you 2 stories, because that's how we do the work on leadership development. We don't tell people what is leadership. We don't tell them it's good, it's bad, it's right, it is wrong. We let you discover the leadership which is yours. So I'll just tell you 2 stories, right? Anybody, all of you know me that I'm a storyteller. One of the stories is about Aurangzeb. Yeah, the name itself ends up really creating memories for us, or imaginations for us. So it is important for us to suspend what the name does to us and listen to the story. Otherwise, we end up really forming opinions about people as good, bad, right, wrong on the basis of what name indicates to us, right? And there is one other person in this room who knows the story, which is Sunil Propone, right? There's an outstanding historian by name Abraham Erali, who unfortunately is no more. He wrote 4 books. So one of his books in which he recounts this story about Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb should be in his 60s at that point of a time. And his teacher turns up at Aurangzeb's court. And the teacher expects Sanman and a lot of wealth to be conferred on him when he meets Aurangzeb, and expects a lot of respect to be given. So Aurangzeb receives him respectfully, right? And then the teacher stands in the court and tells Aurangzeb, look, you are now Alamgir, you are the emperor of India, and I have had a role in you becoming this. At that point, Aurangzeb stops the teacher and looks at him and says, what makes you believe that you are the person who is responsible for me here? Then Aurangzeb goes on and engages with the teacher to tell him, I wish when you were teaching me, you told me what it takes to become an emperor. Did you tell me that to become an emperor, I have to fight wars? Did you tell me that to become an emperor, I have to imprison my own father? Did you tell me that to become an emperor, I have to fight an internecine war with my own brothers and kill some of them? You didn't even tell me about justice, what a Qazi would have told me. You spent time teaching to me the religious texts. You spent time telling me about stories about kings which were unreal. So why should I confer to you, on you, anything at all? Now, whatever you make out of the story, you please make out of the story, right? But it is important before you make up your mind on the story, you hear the next story, right? Because it is the next story which makes the Aurangzeb story, puts it into context. This is somewhere in the modern Yugoslavia, which is where Aristotle was having his then leadership development center. So into which is where you have Alexander and his companions, cavalry and the rest of the people, the cohorts are there. So there is this day in which these are all 14-year-old youngsters, right? So Alexander then says that, look, Philip the II of Macedon is engaged in a war with the Thessalians and the Spartans at this particular place. I would like you guys to go there and be of help to Philip the Macedon in this war in his camp. So these are not being sent to fight the war. They are being sent to really be in the camp with the king and his soldiers. So as it goes, the war happens, it ends, that is immaterial. And then Aristotle receives back his young wards, and all of them, no harms done to them. They come back, and Aristotle has this session in which all these youngsters are there, and Aristotle asked him, what did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel? And what did you learn? And these are the questions we ask all of the people who come into these rooms here. And many of them were traumatized, shell-shocked, sitting in the room, finding it difficult to really muster words to really tell them. And many of these young, future brave warriors start crying. So then Aristotle turns around and asks them, what happened? Then this boy says, we did not know that this glory is required for us to become an emperor. We did not know that a place of battle is not a place of chivalry and enjoyment. A place of battle is a place where we saw human beings unconditionally urinate, defecate. We saw some of the people who we had considered to be great warriors traumatized and running out of the battlefield to be forced by their companions to stay in the battle. We saw blood and gory. We saw people who were related to us die in that battlefield. And we now know that battles are not about heroism, chivalry, which Homer and others have written about and eulogized. We now know what it would have taken for an Achilles and a Hector to be involved in a battle, knowing that only one man will be standing at the end of this battle. We now know what Achilles and Hector would have felt before the battle, and that is fear. And we now know Achilles and Hector were compelled to fight that because the culture dictated that it is the duty of a soldier to fight and not refuse to fight. So at Leadership Center, we tell these stories. We tell people that the idealized version of leadership does not exist in the world. We help people engage with the real version of leadership, a pragmatic, human, real, flesh and blood leaders, and not leaders who are idealized, who are 365 days leaders 24/7, who live their life without making mistakes, who live the idealized version of leadership in terms of virtues, who don't even have any thoughts in their lives of anything which is other than a virtuous thought, with no pettiness, with no jealousy, with no envy. Now that's not the leaders we talk about or we engage with people. Here we bring the raw form of leadership to say, what does it take to be a leader? And what kind of unacceptable consequences you may have to deal with and face with in your pursuit of leadership, so that the greater many can live, and if the greater many can live very well, few of us have to make decisions which may not always be the ones we would want to make. It is what the context demands you to make. So that, in short, is our philosophy and our ideology of you become the leader who you are, and you become the leader who you want to be, and there are no gods among humans. You will, as a leader, There are moments in which you will exercise leadership. Leadership is, there are no leaders. There are not 24/7, 365, 40 years walking, talking leaders who never lived in the world, will never live again in this world. So we believe there are those important moments in which life gives you an opportunity to stand up and be counted and exercise leadership. And I'll close with another story to illustrate what does it mean to stand up and exercise your leadership. This is from Katak Upanishad. This is the story of Nachiketa. There is this young boy, Nachiketa, who finds his father, the renowned, revered Rishi, right, giving dan of everything to everybody around and exemplifying renunciation. And this boy sees this father, and this boy in his mind says that my father is giving away whatever is not valuable and dear to him, but holding back everything that is valuable and dear to him. So what kind of a renunciation is this? These thoughts come to all of us at these points of our time. Now the next point, what do you do now? So this boy walks up to his father and asks him, what kind of, and he says, you are my teacher. So what you do is improper and inappropriate. How can you hold back all that is valuable and give only those things which are not valuable to you? See, the father in a fit of anger says, my most valuable is you, Nachiketa. So I am giving you to Yama. You know, moment of, he's a well-renowned, wise man who had studied Daniel Goleman, who knows self-awareness, self-control, self-management. Yeah? Teaches it to everybody, including his own son. Couldn't hold it. And in a fit of rage and anger being challenged, authority being challenged, power being defied, the truth being spoken. No, 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 no. I give you away to Yama. So, here is this boy waiting for Yama to receive him. And Yama, after all his duties are over, he knows that it is a captive one, it will come to him, right? Where will it go? Daan to ho gaya, to abhi to mera hai. So then Yama returns. And as Yama returns, this boy, he finds this boy, he said, chalo, let's go. So the boy says, look, Dharmaraja, you are steeped in this piece of dharma, right? This is Dharmaraja, Yama. So I asked him, you have to first prove to me that you are worthy of receiving the dhan which has been given to me, which is me. So why don't you prove to me your worth that I am, to take me as a dhan? Another power figure. And who? Yama, the Dharmaraja. So he turns around and he asks the boy, anyway, he's flippant anyway. Chokra hai. So he turns around and asks him, so tell me what if I were to tell you, which will prove to you that I'm worthy. So this boy quietly turns around and asks Yama, tell me what is immortality? So Yama turns around and stunned. And he looks at him and I say, even the gods don't know that. So if the gods don't know that, and you don't know it, you obviously are not worthy of the dhan, which is Nachiketa. So this is the Nachiketa who returns back, and what we call as our Yajurved. Large parts of Yajurved is accredited to Nachiketa. An act of leadership is to have a view, to state a view, to shape a view. Every time when you have a view, and every time when you stand up, and every time you fearlessly state your view, and every time you go on to shape a view, And every time you create impact to that one human being in the world, you have exercised leadership. And that is our philosophy. Thank you.